Okay, we're gonna go ahead and do it. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start.
Right.
Hello, family. It's Rosalind again. So you know what that means. That means it's time for real talk now. Yes, yes. Hundreds. Hello, family. It's Rosalind again. So you know what that means. That means it's time for real talk now. Yes, yes. We're gonna jump right back on that and redo that because I'm hearing the echo. I don't know if you heard
Mm-hmm.
that echo.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. Sometimes you gotta start it over and keep it moving. How about that? All right, family. We had a little technical difficulty there, but you know what? We're gonna keep it moving. How about that? Okay, we're gonna try that one more time. Zoom is sometimes temperamental, people, but we got this. Okay, let's try that one more time. It's Rosalind again. So you know what time it is. That means it's time for real talk now. Yes, yes. Hundreds, hundreds and thousands of teachers around the world have taken on the responsibility of teaching our world's youth in a time of an uncertainty. Teachers, in my opinion, they are the backbone of our society because they are responsible for the framework of our future. I also feel that their job is in the top level of the workforce because they work so hard at what they do. And you know what? Sometimes that hard work goes unnoticed. I challenge you. I challenge you just as we celebrate the military by saying thank you for your service. Try also thanking a teacher for their selfless service. Yes, yes. Now, Dr. Nikki Glenn is my guest tonight, and she wants to discuss how it is to live out her life's purpose that was not only inspired by God, but also designed by him, all while doing it in the midst of the pandemic. Yes. Now, Dr. Glenn, she's a minister's wife, and being that minister's wife, she does not go by a cookie cutter format of the minister's wife. And as you will soon hear, she is unapologetically real, but don't get it twisted. She is also a lady, and she's a lady that is well respected. Yes. Now, Dr. Glenn, what I would like you to do is introduce yourself to the family and educate us. Yes, yes.
Thank you, my sister. That is so sweet. You know how much I love you, so I appreciate you so much. You can't hear me? Okay,
Hold
I'm
on
not.
one second. We're not hearing anything.
Okay. You know how much I love you, so I appreciate you so much. You can't hear me?
Hold on one second. We're still having difficulty here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I'm hearing several things at one time. We're still having difficulty. I don't know why I'm hearing several. Now try.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I
Awesome.
apologize, family. Sometimes this social media, it does not always want to cooperate. And this is one of those nights. So, Dr. Glenn, I ask you again, can you please introduce yourself to the family and bless us?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Technology is wonderful when it works. But we're gonna get past this. We are a year and some change dealing with technology, so everybody knows and understands. So thank you again for that introduction. You know how much I love you and appreciate you. But education for me was not my life plan. And I think that is the funny, not so funny part of doing what I absolutely love. I am a witness that God is going to have his way. We can make all the plans that we want to, and think we're going to grow up to be this or that if we want to. But God has the final say. So all my life, I wanted to be a medical doctor. That was the deal. I went to Hampton University as a biology pre-med major. I was going to medical school for 4 years. Got to the end that senior year, and I had not applied to medical schools. My GPA wasn't competitive enough. So I said, well, let me go and get a master's in biology, get a little bit more experience, and see what that master's does. So I did that, got accepted to the MED program, a summer program at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Intense 8-week program that takes you through the first semester of med school or dental school. And it was that program where I decided, y'all can have this. It was just too much. And I just did not enjoy it. It literally made me sick. The last week of class, my parents had to come to Chapel Hill and pack me up and put me in the car. I think I was at home in the bed with a migraine for about 4 days. And I was like, this isn't the life that I want to live. It was that stressful. So I was like, okay, so what am I do? I'm gonna do. So I had another semester at North Carolina A&T working on my master's in biology. And in order to keep my scholarship, I had to teach some lab classes. Was not really interested in that either, but I wanted my money. So I said, okay, I'll teach these lab classes. And it was there where I would have students who were not biology majors having to take these biology classes who would say, this is my second time taking this class, but this is my first time understanding what I'm doing. And then there was like a light bulb, ding, 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 ding. Like, okay. And I didn't just hear that once. I heard it several times. When people were signing up for the class, they would ask who the lab tech was going to be because they wanted to take my class. So I knew that there was something there. So I applied to, this was in 2003. I applied to Guilford County Schools. And Sister Roz, I don't know if I shared this part with you, but I applied to Guilford County Schools and they called me back. But Nick and I were on our honeymoon. We had just gotten married and was on our honeymoon when they called. And I didn't return the call in time. When I got back home and returned the call, they had already given the job to somebody else. So I had to find something in between. So I worked at GTCC, teaching a couple of classes during that time. And then the person who they hired for Guilford County Schools said, this ain't for me, and quit. So they called me back. And I was like, absolutely, I'll come in for an interview. I went in for an interview in November. And I started in November. They hired me right on the spot. Like it wasn't even a matter of, we'll call you. When I left out of Grimsley High School, I knew that I was going to be the environmental science teacher. So they hired me on the spot. I started in November. I'm going to say that again. I started in November. School starts in August. I started in November. So from August to about October, they had this one teacher. After his 30 days was up, he was out. So they had sub after sub after sub after sub. So you can only imagine what I walked into. They were doing their own thing. And I had to just kind of and reel them jokers on back in because we're not doing this in here. And so it was tough. Started in November. In December, I came home to Nick and I was like, after Christmas, I ain't going back. And I laugh about that now because I was so serious. Like after Christmas, they're going to have to find somebody else because I'm not going back in there. That's how tough it was dealing with some of those kids. But I had to shift my mindset, give them the benefit of the doubt, and remind myself that they are just that, kids, and they had no direction. And if I left them, they would continue to not have direction. So I went back slowly, but I went back. And I finished out the year as Grimsley High School's Rookie Teacher of the Year, because I changed my mindset, which in turn changed the mindset of the students that I taught, and I started building relationships with them. They was giving me a hard time because they didn't know who I was. To them, I was just going to be that next teacher that came in, was there for a couple of weeks, and they ran out. But the fact that I stayed helped me build relationships with those students, and I have been an educator ever since.
Oh, wow. Okay. And that's amazing, because that just goes back to say that sometimes what we think is what's good for us, God said, that's not what I want you to do. So that's a prime example of that.
It is. And I think it's lovely, Roz, when I see people. I have a sorority sister who has a picture of her. She had to be maybe about 6 or 7 with a stethoscope around her neck and a t-shirt that said future doctor. And she is a doctor. I think it's beautiful when it works out the way you want it to work out. And there's a testimony behind both. But you got to think about what that does to someone's mindset, or what it could do to somebody's mindset when what they think is what they want is not how things pan out. So I really had to kind of like trust God, because I was like, I'm smart. I get my paycheck and I'm like, oh Lord, how am I gonna make this work from the next paycheck? I wanted to make some more money.
Yeah.
And I was like, I worked too hard to get these little pennies. But then I was like, what we put out there as far as how much educators make, is the minimum, because there are other things that teachers can do with it, especially when they want leadership roles that, can allow you to make more money, even though it's not everything. It is helpful, and I just don't think teachers get the recognition or the pay that they deserve. But, back then, I was just like, my goodness, this is, pretty low from what my, friends who graduated from college with me were making. And it was a little difficult in the beginning, but like I said, it had nothing to do with me, because I almost went kicking and screaming, but I had to listen to the voice of the Lord, and he prevailed. He
Right.
won this one.
Yeah. He worked that out. He worked that thing out, and that's awesome.
He
Now,
did.
are there any differences? The differences in that you're seeing between the school districts and between the upbringing of the children too, because like you said, you had to remember, even though they were taking you through some situations, you had to remember they're still kids.
They were still kids. Yes.
Hmm.
There is a big difference in the way children are being brought up now. Now, let me go back. When I first started teaching, I was, I think, 25, and I was teaching seniors. I had physical science that was a senior class. So some of my seniors were 18 and 19 years old. So there was not a big age difference between me and my senior classes. So I was like a big sister to some of them. I had a student to become pregnant, and she told me that she was pregnant before she told her parents, and asked me if I would be present when she told her mother. That's the type of relationship that I had with my children. And I say my children, some people say students, but these are my babies. And like, I can dig into them and get on them, but when other people do it, I'm offended. Y'all know what I'm saying? It's like, that's my job. You leave them alone. But I was able to build such strong relationships with them that I could get them to do things that some of the other teachers could not. Again, simply because of relationship. Was I hard on them? Absolutely. Am I still hard on them? Absolutely. But they know that I care. So back when I first started, if I said, I need you to have a seat, my students, for the most part, would sit down. Here lately, if I say, I need you to have a seat, they ask questions. And the way I'm brought up and the way that I rear my own child is, if I give you a command, that requires an action. That doesn't require a question. So if I say have a seat, that means sit down. That don't mean ask me why I asked you to have a seat, or to proceed to try to make an explanation about why you standing up. Like, we don't do that. And so what I'm finding is that there's a disconnect between parents and their children, which then those children see other adults, and there's also a disconnect because they know that Dr. Glenn doesn't play, but they have to like kind of morph into what I expect because they get to do whatever they want to do at home. Mama might not be there simply because she's working. Daddy might not be there because he's working. So there's an older sibling there that's taking care of them, and that's how they talk. I'm not your older sibling. So I demand respect. And yes, my students say that I'm hard on them, but again, they know it's because I love them. And Roz, if I'm honest, these last few years is the reason that I said I need to get out the classroom, because I was going to be a news headline if I ain't get on up out of there, because I could just tell there was a shift in the level of respect that students had for teachers. Even some of the students who were my students and who knew better, when they get upset, it didn't matter who it was, even me. And I just wasn't used to that. I could usually go in and, diffuse a situation. But these kids were getting to a point where it was difficult for me to love them because they didn't know how to be loved. So they didn't know how to receive me, and they would fight me, and I would fight back. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's like, I'm trying to show you how much I love you. Just let me in. Chip, 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 tear down that wall. Chip, chip, chip. I'm still trying to tear down that wall. But some of them just would not let me in. And it was hard. And I was like, okay. When the days came and it was difficult for me to get up out my bed to go to work, I knew there was a shift, because I cannot teach anyone's child if I don't want to be there. Children pick up on more than what we realize. And they were picking up on the fact that I did not want to be there. So I had to make a change, and I still love education, but I had to make a move. And I had to get out of the classroom in order to make sure that my sanity was kept. Because there was such a shift in the way students respond, and the way that they react, because there's a difference. But I was struggling with both, and I didn't want to be a disservice, so I had to do something else.
Okay. And I was going to ask you, as far as the reasoning behind it, but you summed that up beautifully, that you're seeing a difference, a major difference in that household. It may be that instead of that parent being there on a regular, it may be an older sibling. And sometimes that's not always the most positive thing. I agree with that. I'm sure, knowing whom you are, that you even have some of your students come to you and ask for prayer, because you may not have to say a word, but they could still see Christ in you. And reason why, because maybe, just maybe, yes, you were hard on them, they appreciated that, but they also realized too that hardness was love, because I want to make sure that wherever you go, you're going to be okay.
Right.
So
Right.
Go ahead and elaborate.
I have several students. I actually pray in class, and I know they took prayer out of classrooms, but they didn't take prayer out of me. And so if we were a little rowdy, as I would say, and I just stopped, and my kids would say, y'all better be quiet, she praying. Like they knew. I just stopped, and I'm not praying out loud, I'm praying to myself, and I'm just looking. And I'm like, all right, y'all, we're going to try that again. And you could just feel the shift in the room. And my students knew it, because I'm an open book. So we always have, the first week of school, get to know each other. And they knew that my husband was a preacher. My daughter attended the school that I taught at. And when he came to pick her up, he would have on a suit. And they'd be like, why your husband always dressed up? They're so nosy. And so why your husband always got on a suit? How he get to come and pick up Nia all the time? Just nosy. But I love it because they just want to know what's going on, with their teacher or whatever. So we have a good relationship. They know about my mom and dad. One of my students saw my mama with Nia out, and my mama gave the student enough money to get what he needed at the gas station. So it's about a community. So I build a culture in my classroom where my students would call me mama, and introduce me to their mama as their mama teacher. Hey mama, this my mama teacher. And I just loved it. And the parents loved it because I told them at open house, you birthed these children, but you birthed them so that I could have them for about 8 hours of the day and mold them and send them back to you. And so those children are my responsibility, and I hold on to that. And that's why I'm gonna say it again. When I start feeling that disconnect and it was hard for me to wake up and go to work and I was losing the love of teaching children, I was like, I don't want to leave education. I know that is my purpose, but I just maybe need to find another department, find another avenue. And it has worked out perfectly. Even in the midst of a global pandemic, the Lord was able to shift things and move things right over the summer before school started. And I absolutely bless him for this blessing. Now, this is a hard job that I have. It wears me out, but I absolutely love it. And I still get to have a connection with children. But I don't just pray for my students, I pray with my students. Even invite them to church. One of my students years ago got baptized and is a member of the church as we speak. So I don't take that lightly. Children come to church with me. I introduce them to my church family. These are two of my daughters. I had two to come at the same time. I have to go pick them up. The parents trust me. Listen, Nia not getting in the car with just anybody. That's my daughter. She's not getting in the car with any old body. So if she gets in the car with somebody, you better know that I love and trust you, right? And so these parents love and trust me enough to say, you can come to my house, pick up my child, put them in your car, and take them to church with you and bring them back home. So that speaks volumes to me.
Yes, that's something, because you're right, because you don't trust your family with everybody.
Listen.
And I was interested in that you said about that shift, and that's one thing that I'm kind of meditating on, as you said, that my shift, when dealing with situations, we also do a shift. Is your shift what is your shift when you have to deal with hard situations? I hear what you're saying about the education. Is it related that you have to take, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what is your shift? How do you get over situations to make sure that, because as a minister's wife, that's not an easy job, but there has to be a way that you have to disconnect in a way.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the word. I disconnect. I will turn off my phone. I will tell people that I don't feel like peopling today, and they know what that means. I just need some time. I don't feel like peopling.
Yeah.
And I'll turn off my phone. I will turn off the TV. I'll meditate. I'll go out by myself just so I'm not, I don't hear the chatter of anybody asking me to do something for them, because I am a servant just by nature. It's just what I do. I serve, and I can't help it. So if I see that somebody needs something and I am able to give it, it's just what I do. But sometimes it can be a bit much, and it's not purposeful. It's not anything on the people that ask either. They just know that I'm a loyal friend and I just want to be there to help. But just about 3 weeks ago, I took a personal day, me day. No, it was longer than 3 weeks. It was about 5 weeks ago. about 5 weeks ago. I told my principal, I was like, I'm not coming tomorrow, and did like this. And she said, okay. She knew what that meant. I just winked at her and she knew exactly what that meant. I just can't. And so I needed to kind of disconnect so that I could reconnect and be for the teachers that I serve and the students that I serve all I needed to be. And I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing that connected to work. I didn't do nothing. And it felt so good. And when I went back to work, I was energized. And then my students, again, with their little nosy selves, Dr. Glenn, where was you at yesterday? I want to know, because I don't miss work. Like, I just don't. And so for me to take off work was hard, but it was necessary.
Yeah. And sometimes I definitely believe in self-care.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing that is, I often say, if I'm not in a place to give, I can't give from an empty vessel.
At
I
all.
can't help nobody, anyone. I can't help anyone if I'm empty,
That's exactly
because
right.
it's not going to be genuine.
At all.
Definitely not going to be genuine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've watched you over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have watched you over the years, and I have seen how you have strongly come into the design that God has inspired for you. And the thing is that you listened
Mm-hmm.
and you hit on this, but I want you to elaborate a little more, because I know it was not an easy process to change in mid stance the path
Mercy.
that you thought you should take. What
Mm-hmm.
did it actually take? Even though you were obedient, which I'm glad you were, because I can hear it in your talk. This is genuine stuff you spewing out. This is
Mm-hmm.
real,
Mm-hmm.
but what was that? Even though I hear you said about, the test, and that won't for me. Other than that,
It was the students.
okay.
It was the students. So I think I mentioned when I was at A&T, I would have students to, like, say, is Miss Glenn teaching this lab portion of this class? Because if she not, I'm not taking this section. What section is she teaching? And to know that I was sought after made me say, okay, Lord, what is this that you have given me? I did not never, ever, ever desire to be a teacher, like, ever. Again, I went to school for pre-med. There was never a time that I thought I would be an educator, not once. And so to be sought after is kind of humbling. So I'm like, are y'all serious that you weren't going to take this section because I wasn't teaching? And they was like, I'm telling you no lies. I just changed my schedule. I would have them, they would hold up their schedule because I wanted to be in your section. And I was like, wow. And I just had a way of making connections, making academic connections to the real world so that they can remember, so that they could learn, not memorize, but remember and be able to relate, so that active learning is taking place. There's a difference. You can memorize all you want to, but when you learn it, you know it, no matter what. And that's what I strive to do for my kids. I want you to learn it. I don't want you to memorize it. And the only way I can get you to do that is to make it relatable to you. How do I make it relatable? I have to know what you like. I have to build relationships with you. I can't give you a lesson on sales and relate it to basketball if I don't know that you like basketball. And so my mind works in a way where it's just a gift that I didn't ask God for, but he just gave it to me, where I can make students who normally struggle with academics understand. And so I'm here for the students. So even past A&T, when I started working for Guilford County Schools, the same thing. There were two Black women, I being one of them, and Miss Baskin being the other. Two Black women in the science department, and we just tried to make a difference, is all I can say, because there were students who struggled academically, but they would get in our class and get to the EOG at the end of the year before they started. They changed the levels. Now 5 is the highest that you can make, but back then it was 4. And so if your students made a 3 or 4, that was like astounding, right? And so students would come to our classes and bomb, other class EOCs, but make 3s and 4s in our class. And people be like, so-and-so made a 3 on his biology EOC. So-and-so made a 4 on that physical science. And we were like, yeah. Yeah, they did. And so it's just a matter of being able to make the connections. And so knowing that my students needed me, and I'm not the only teacher that students need. That's the beautiful part about it. Education is heavy, and our students need teachers who look like them, teachers who care about them, and teachers who will fight them back. And what I mean by that is if a student says, I can't do this, or I don't want to do this, let them know that that's not an option on your watch. So you fight them back. My students knew that if they didn't do an assignment, they were going to be with me before school, during lunch, or after school. And I would kindly remind them, I don't want to be with you, not now 3 of them times. Not now 1 of them times do I want to be with you. I don't want to be with you before school. I don't want to be with you during my lunchtime, and I don't want to be with you after school. And they just cracking up laughing. But I was serious as a heart attack. Why should I spend my time before school and during lunch and after school with you when you just need to do what I asked you to do the first time? Why are you making this hard on us? If you just do it, we can be free, both of us. Yeah. And that was the mindset that I would give them. You don't have to sit with me if you try.
Wow.
And so I just don't take no for an answer. I fight them back. And I think that's why I'm just so tired. And, they be like, dang, she don't let me get away with nothing. I don't. Because when you leave outside of these 4 walls and you go out in that community, especially my African-American boys, there is nobody that really cares about you. Yeah. And that's real talk, no pun intended.
Yeah.
So I need you to make sure that you have everything together, because when you get out in the real world, it's going to be super duper hard for you as a Black male.
Yeah, that's real. That is real talk. And I appreciate that. Being a minister's wife and of a larger congregation as well. Do you find some of those things that you use, those same skills that you use in school, or vice versa, that you have to use them interchangeably? And I say that because, not to be disrespectful, sometimes us adults don't always,
absolutely
act like adults, and sometimes, the same thing with
absolutely.
the kids.
Absolutely. So I have a no judgment zone. And so the people who come to talk to me in confidence about struggles, about problems at home, about unruly children, I just listen. Sometimes I don't even give a response. Sometimes our sessions is just tell me what's going on. And it's a listening and prayer session. Nobody knows, and I mean this, and I'm going to say this being recorded, and it's on Facebook Live. When people come to me, not even my husband knows what our conversation was. If they wanted Nick to know, they would have said, I want to meet with you and Nick. If they say I want to meet with Nikki, I don't tell him nothing. I am loyal almost to a fault. The only way that I'm going to tattletale on somebody is if it is to their detriment. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Okay, but I don't play those games. And so there's a no judgment zone, but there is also accountability. So I hold them accountable. And a lot of my church members might not tell me the whole truth, because they know that if I know the whole truth, I'm going to hold them accountable.
Yeah.
And I do the same for me. You don't have a true friend if your friend lets you do whatever you want to do. That's not your friend. That's not your example. If you sinning and you doing any old kind of thing and they just like, oh, let me just be quiet, and they're not trying to get you on the right track, that's not a real friend. And I've had friends to get mad at me in the past, in the church and outside of the church, because I'm like, you living real foul. And I sure hope don't nothing happen to you before he come back. And I want you to get this right, because you living real foul. And those are the words. Love you, but you ain't living right. And I want you to fix that.
Yeah.
And I'll say it to anybody, but I'm loyal. I do have to have real conversations, but there's a no judgment zone, because just because that's not my struggle, that doesn't mean that I don't have one. And
That's
I
right.
would want the same thing for me.
Yeah. And that is real, and that's good to know. People need to see that ministers' wives too have struggles too.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put me, don't put them on. Don't put your,
I'll let you down every time.
yeah, exactly. Don't put them on a pedestal. You know what
Don't put
exactly?
me on no
Yeah,
pedestal.
don't. Yeah,
I'm gonna let you down every
exactly.
time.
Because it's gonna be something. You're right. We're gonna do something
It will.
that's gonna
Something.
disappoint
It
you.
might not be your something,
Yeah,
but I got something.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I
And
appreciate that.
and folks watching, Roz, I had one of my sweet babies. It brought tears to my eyes when she came to me. She was like, I have never seen a minister's wife go up to altar call. I ain't never seen no minister's wife go up and ask for prayer. And I was like, I was thinking, and I've seen a few, but it ain't common. I'll go up there every Sunday if I need to. I don't care what nobody say. I'm trying to get this thing right.
Yeah.
So people are watching, and you just never know. Like, if the minister's wife need to go up there and ask for prayer, then I know it's okay for you to walk on up there. But that wasn't even my thought process. My thought process was like, my thinking ain't right now. Lord, I need you to help me. Let me go on up here so my church family can pray. My thought process wasn't, let me go up here and and set the example for somebody. That's not my thought process. But that's what happened. And she said that she was blessed by the transparency. And I was like, to God be the glory, because it wasn't me. I wasn't thinking about nobody else. I was thinking about my own soul. At that point, I was selfish. You know what I'm saying? If I died right then, I wanted to know that I would be safe, because hell ain't for me. Hell ain't for me.
I know that's right.
It ain't for me. So I need to do this thing right. And I repent and I pray every single day, because there are some things that I may do that I'm not even conscious of that are contrary. So I ask him to forgive me of the thoughts and the things that I have carried out knowingly and unknowingly. So I cover all bases.
That's right. That's right.
And try to move forward.
That's right. That's right. I appreciate that. And also too, them seeing that the minister's wife can have, we can be sensitive. I say we, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to put this on me,
I know
but
what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, you can be sensitive sometime, and that's not a sign of weakness
Not
either.
at all.
You know, that just means you're human.
Right.
And just like anybody else, you get filled sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. Now
Right.
you're married. You're married to the one and only Dr.
Mm,
Nick Glenn.
yeah. That's
Now
my boo.
tell me, if you had followed that path that you had set for yourself, how different would your life have been, in your opinion, if you had not decided to actually listen because you were determined to do it on your own? And I say that because many times people have bucked and bucked and bucked, and God said, okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
And how do you think,
Yeah.
if you have you ever thought about that?
Just briefly, because I don't like to think about life without him too much. So, but I just briefly, and I'm gonna tell you, I don't know what would have happened, but I can tell you what could have happened.
Could have,
So
yeah.
I would not have been back at the time it was South English Street if I would have gone to medical school. I would have been off at medical school. But Nick had come to Greensboro to finish up school at UNCG and started coming to South English Street. Now, the little fun fact is that people don't know that Nick's dad and my mom went to high school together. So Nick and I have been knowing each other for years, but we didn't like interact like that. Like, we would see each other at church events and maybe speak, but not we didn't interact like that. And so his dad and my mom went to school together, been knowing each other for years. And when he started coming to South English Street, his little story is he saw me and was like, that I want the preacher's daughter. That's what he But he said he wasn't ready. He wasn't living all the way right, and he knew he had to come to me correct. And I'm so glad he did, because I will kick somebody to the curb in a minute, honey. So if he would have came to me like he was, we wouldn't have made it. But I don't know that our paths ever would have crossed like that, because if I would have went to medical school, I would not have been at Greensboro at the time that he came to South English Street. So I'm thankful for God directing my path.
And also you listening, being
And me
obedient,
listening.
because
Yes,
you two make a dynamic duo.
I
Yes, you do.
received that. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, I can appreciate the relationship and what you all are doing, trying
Mhm.
to bring others to Christ and keep those in Christ too.
Yeah,
You
keep
know,
them. Yes,
yes, because we
yes,
have some, some ones that's in, in the body as well, who
yeah.
still need that help. And that's not saying anything ill about them,
I
but
know
we
what you
still
mean.
have to feed the flock as well,
Right. And then during a time like this, where you can't go see people when their loved ones pass away or when they're sick because of hospital restrictions, it's been tough on us, man. Just having to hear about our members passing and not being able to see them. And so for some of them, like Roz, it don't even seem real. It's like when I say out loud, Brother Westmoreland isn't here anymore, I'm like, did I just say that?
Yeah,
Because the last time we were in church was March of 2020. It
yeah.
is April of 2021.
Wow,
And the last time I saw him, and he's just one of the examples, but the last time I saw him was literally the last time I saw him.
wow. Yeah, makes you think.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
tough. It's
yeah,
tough. And no, nothing could prepare anybody for what we have gone through. Not a class in not a Christian class, not an education class, not a med school class, not a nursing class. Just put in your occupation. There's nothing that could have prepared us for this pandemic. So everybody is just doing the best they can,
yeah,
adjusting, and we're just
yeah,
doing the best we can. That's all I
yeah,
can say.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. That was well stated. What else is in store? What else can we look forward to from Dr. Nikki
Um,
Glenn?
I tell you, to God be the glory, because I don't do things for recognition.
Hmm.
I do things because I'm passionate about it.
Amen.
And so with this whole education thing, I've been recognized a lot, and it feels good. Don't get me wrong, but that's not why I do it. So from
Okay.
rookie teacher of the year to teacher of the year to top 5 finalists for teacher of the year, to mentor of the year, top 5 for mentor of the year. It's humbling to know that I have succeeded at my life's work, and
Amen.
to know that it wasn't what I planned, but I listened to the Holy Spirit and let him guide me. It's paying off. And I don't mean that with money. The lives that I touch, I am still in touch with students that I've had, with parents that I've had. I'm talking they're in my phone. Parents are in my phone. I'm still in contact with mentees that I've had, that are no longer in education. So like, we're not talking about lesson plans anymore. We're, because they were like, y'all can have this education thing. So some of my mentees have left education altogether. But because I'm so big on building relationships, we just can't break. We just can't break. And so even though they are doing other things, we're still in contact. So what's next is continuing to touch lives. If I can continue to touch the lives of my students and their parents and the community, then I feel like my work is done. Although I'm not a classroom teacher and I coach teachers, I'm still in the classroom with students, because I model for the teachers. I do one-on-one with the students. I do small groups with the students. So I know all the students on fifth grade, because I'm in charge of the fifth grade team, and we have relationship. And so another gift that I have, and I think I kind of mentioned that, is making content relatable. Science is my jam. That's my favorite subject ever. But in this new role, I also have to teach math, social studies, and language arts. And so it has been a growth move as well, because I'm not comfortable outside of science, or at least I thought I wasn't. And so being able to relate other content areas has shown me that I am really doing what God has purposed me to do, because it's bigger than science. It's bigger than me. It's all God. So what's in store is to continue to touch and change lives and grow students and get them to believe in themselves, because I have students that don't trust their brain. And I tell them all the time, I need you to trust your brain. You can do this. And they're real hesitant because they've always been told this is wrong, or they know that they have a disability, and that disability has been used against them. And I tell my students, I don't care what your IEP, that's a individualized education plan, I don't care what that says about you. I don't care what disability there is on that sheet of paper. You can and you will. So building up, especially our Black and brown children, no disrespect to anybody that ain't Black or brown, but I am committed to changing the trajectory of Black and brown students. And
Amen.
so that's what's next.
What's next? Well, you have a comment here, and I want you to hear this comment on the air. Before you can see them when you get off. You can tell you and Nick can get up here and look at stuff. But Stephanie Booker says she wants you to tell everybody how you all took care of them when they had COVID. Whatever was needed, you did not hesitate. You know, and I'm adding words because I'm sure these are words that she's saying. And said that Nick Glenn is the pastor in every sense of the word. Amen.
That's my chick, Roz. I'm just here to tell you. And I have loved Stephanie from a distance, like even before I met her. You know, like, can I just be real honest with you? You know how you see people from afar and then you have the opportunity to meet, well, you see people from afar and you admire them, right? But then you get to know them up close and then you're like, never mind. Am I the only person that had... So I met Stephanie, admiring her from afar. And then I met her and I was like, it's something different about this chick. You know what I'm saying? Loved her. So meeting her was even better than admiring her from afar. She is now my sister friend. Notice which word I said first.
Right.
And so there's nothing that she will ever need that I have that she won't have. And yes. I mean that. Yeah. And it's not just Stephanie, it's a few more. It ain't no whole lot now. My circle ain't wide. You know, but there are a few that if you need it and I have it, it's yours. And Roz, if you need it and I don't have it, I'ma find it.
Right. Yeah.
There's a difference. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So when it's somebody that goes beyond, because I don't have it, but I'm gonna help you get it. You know, so you start calling folks that you know that might have it, or whatever it is. Yeah. But yes, whatever she needed, drop it off, pray, and that's just who I am. I can't help it.
Yeah, that's the thing about true friendship. Mm-hmm. You know, and even you may not see each other all the time, and I know you and Stephanie are all in contact, but you may not see each other. But once that connection is made,
that's it. She's stuck with me, so I hope
she said she's stuck. I think she
know that.
I think she good with that too, Nikki. I truly think. Okay, if someone wants to get in touch with you, tell us how they can reach out and get in touch with you, because you know,
email is the absolute best, or my phone number. You know, I don't like to talk on the phone, but texting is wonderful. Emailing is wonderful. And people know that if I do talk on the phone, it's necessary. But email idena29@gmail.com, IDEANA29@gmail.com, or by phone. And I'm not gonna put that out there, but if you email me, I'll give you my phone number.
I understand, and I think that's a wise decision. if they want it, they can reach out to you.
Right. Let's see
Reach
how
out to
fast
her
it
on
rolls.
email. Yes, that's good. And
Yeah.
if you know, so wise thing. And family, if also if you want to get in touch with get a message to Nikki, you can also reach out to me,
Mhm.
Rosalind Green Price on Facebook, or you can send me an email as well, in him underscore forever at yahoo.com, and go to Facebook and like our Real Talk Now page too. And if you do that, you make sure you will definitely get all the alerts of the different programs and the different things that we have going on as well. We love you, Nikki. I say thank you. I know I keep saying
Thank you,
I
sister.
tried so hard to call you Dr. Nikki. You deserve
Nikki is,
that,
I
but you
am
know
still
what? Me and
Nikki.
you like Nikki, Rob. You know what I mean? But and she deserved that respect, because she got. I told her, I said, I'm gonna call you Doctor. But you know how you get so relaxed again. I'm like, okay, but
I
y'all
love
get
that
it.
though.
Y'all
I
get
love
it.
that. I don't make you feel like that is necessary.
Yeah.
And look, like my brother, he irks my nerves. I love him to death. But
Uh-huh.
my brother was like, you can be a doctor all you want to, but you still Nikki.
You
So he
still you
keeps
still
me
still.
humble. He keeps me
And
humble.
that's right, and that's good. That
But
you got
thank
them
you,
people
sister.
still pulling it. Still, you pulling it down. That's good.
Yeah.
Sweetheart, I love you
Love
dearly,
you more.
and we would definitely be in touch. And I wish you, Nick, and the baby, everybody, the best, the best.
Thank you so
All
much,
right,
sis.
all right. You take
Y'all have a
care.
good night.
All right, love you now.